Barrett was kind of the ultimate batch too, because you were a bartender and you had a motorcycle and a studio and a band. That's like the biggest magnet I've ever heard of in my entire fucking life. Anyway, so then we get out to Seattle. So we had the house on 38th Street. Was that the first one?
Yeah.
Right. We set up the studio in the basement. So I know that I would come back from tours and I would like write songs while I was on tour and come back and record them in the basement. Do you remember any of that stuff?
Yeah, totally. And that studio, I mean, that wasn't really set up. That house was just a teeny little, there was no separation between where I had the tape machine and the little teeny room where the drum kit was. That was sort of a stopgap. That was just like, I remember my dad sent all the equipment on a pallet wrapped in plastic. I don't know if you saw that. And so I started touring with Nirvana in the end of '91 for that first tour, the West Coast tour. So it's probably, around then is when I got set up, because I don't think that stuff was set up until after then. Yeah, you had a bunch of songs that you always had a bunch of songs that let's record. I'm trying to remember what was from that era. Marigold was done in DC.
That was done in DC, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you remember about touring with Nirvana?
I remember that it was a lot of fun, and it got crazier and crazier and more separate. Like, I mean, at first I was working for my friend Dave, and then I never saw you, and then I fucking had to deal with fucking Alex, who hated my guts. I don't know why.
He hated everybody. He was an asshole.
And it just got kind of not as much fun after a while. But fuck, it was so, I mean, that Australian tour was so much fun with, I don't know, it was fun.
What do you remember about Japan? Because Japan to me was like, it was so weird that we were playing these tiny clubs.
I know.
And they hadn't really like ever stage dived or something?
No, and they were so polite. And do you remember how they used to partition off the audience space so nobody could move around? And they were not very, compared to all the other Nirvana shows, they were not very boisterous. And I just remember the president from Tama coming that one night, and after smashing and stuff, he was like, "Oh my God, Dave doesn't like my drums." That was the night Chris did the fire extinguisher, and it was just like he couldn't breathe. It was one of those. You don't remember that?
I do remember that, actually.
Yeah. Udo, the Japanese promoter, he was awesome, telling us stories about Paul McCartney. And I remember the Cobain beef on the Rock.
Oh, yeah.
That was so good.
So at the time, like, growing up the way we did, playing the music that we did, with Nirvana becoming popular, like, what did you think was happening to music?
Well, I remember being totally psyched that all the hair bands were getting just finished. They were done because of you guys, and I was like, finally, that's good. Some good music finally getting through. But it's weird because after that, it just became, like Creed, and I mean, it just started becoming copies of what was happened during that 3-year period or something like that, and. I have to say, major labels are evil entities. I don't like them.
So we got here just before things kind of went bananas.
Yeah.
And in the next, how did you see the city change? How did you see Seattle go from what it was when we first moved here to what it's,
It was a very friendly scene when we first got here. I mean, everybody hung out together. I was working at Rock Candy, barely making any money, and just people were, everybody knew each other. Everybody was friends. Everybody was hanging out. There wasn't really any weirdness. I mean, it's funny how the press made everything out to be like so much different, and you know how press is. They want to make a story, so they're making it all out to be different. I think it didn't change that much though after that. I mean, it's always been a pretty close-knit group here. Seattle's a cool place. So,
what were your first impressions when you got here?
I liked it. I don't know. I thought it was a cool city. There seemed to be a lot of music. It's definitely different than DC, which I was kind of, you know, prepared for, and I wanted to have something different. I just remember being pissed that I got paid half of what I got paid at 930 Club for doing this more of a job. $50 a night as opposed to $100 a night for running sound for 3 bands. And
why was that? I wonder why that was.
I don't know. That's just what the going rate was.
So let's talk about Kurt. What did you think of Kurt?
I thought Kurt was the sweetest, nicest, coolest guy ever. I mean, he was just so funny, his dry humor, and he just had this little wicked streak about him. But it was just, I don't know, he was so cool. I remember one night in Tacoma, we went to like that drag queen bar, and he had his push button Valiant, and he was just so sweet. He was like, he was saying, I really think it's so cool that you moved out here and we can record with you. And, you know, I don't know, he's just such a nice guy.
What do you remember about recording us?
That was a quick, down and dirty session. I mean, you guys came in and I think you made up one of those songs on the spot, right?
I think so.
It's fairly easy. I mean, it was, as I said, there was no separation between where I was recording and where you were playing, so I couldn't really hear anything. I was hoping it sounded all right, and then we did a quick mix. It was like 2 days session, I guess, so, or something. It was fun.
Didn't we do something in the other studio too? The one in the
There
center?
must be. You did some demos. That's where that Francis Farmer demo came from, but I don't remember that for some reason. I remember you and Chris helping me, like, put insulation in when I first got that place.
Right.
And I remembered I did Kurt there making feedback for that William Burroughs thing. That session was funny. I mean, he was there for like an hour. He just started making guitar noises, and I ran the DAT machine.
That was it?
That was it. Yeah, that was the whole session.
Producer. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where were you living when Kurt died?
I was living in that studio in Lower Green End. Yeah, it was this.
I'm trying to think that you hadn't been on the road with us for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I quit right before the second Saturday Night Live thing, which was, yeah, it had been like 8 months, I think.
Right. What did you think of our world changing the way it did?
Well, it just wasn't, for me it wasn't fun anymore because it was just dealing with the management, and it just gotten so big and crazy, and the vibes just wasn't as fun anymore. I don't know. I remember talking to you after Rome and stuff like that, and I can't remember how I heard. I think some friend called me one morning or something. It was sad. But I remember not being really surprised.
Yeah. I kind of don't really remember a lot of that summer.
No.
I do, sort of. I got fucking married.
I know.
And I didn't really know what to do musically, but you and I had recorded, I think, I'll Stick Around and Big Me, didn't we? At your studio in the Seattle Center.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And there was that one guy, I think his name was Damien. He had a local music show.
Damon.
Damon.
I played that. I played the I'll Stick Around on there, which didn't have a name yet. It's funny because I actually just posted that show.
And you were on the show. Was he doing, I don't know, what was that?
He was, it was an interview because I was also just starting my label that lasted about a minute. And so I went on there playing a bunch of old stuff and then some new stuff. So I had your new stuff. I had Presidents that I had just recorded. I had some Churn stuff, so it's other band. I played Hooker, that song Hooker on there. So it was just like his 2-hour show. I sat in and talked about what I had been doing and stuff like that.
What's his name?
Damon Stewart. He was on KISW.
I remember after we recorded I'll Stick Around and we mixed it and I listened back to it, I actually kind of had a panic attack.
Like, this is good.
Because I thought that it sounded like it was the best thing that I had ever done. And I really thought like that I could, if I wanted to, I could do that. I don't know why it freaked me out, but I really honestly felt kind of scared.
That's so weird. I always knew you could.
I know, but I never, like, it wasn't a matter of, like, playing. I didn't have a problem with the playing part. It was, like, the writing part. And that was the first time I'd ever written something I felt was, like, fully formed and actually.
Well, we had already done, even before that, they had, like, Weenie Beanie and I think Exhausted came after that. But, I mean, that whole record had been demoed out already. I think with the exception of 2 songs, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what? Oh, wait till the truck goes by. What were your first impressions of Robert Lang's studio?
I thought it was the coolest place ever. I love that place, and the drums sound so good in that room. I just love it. It's like for me that was like I can get a Bonham sound in here. I can get a sound that sounds like Bonham records, old Zeppelin records.
But that room everything about it is acoustically wrong.
Yeah, probably.
Have you been to any studios that have marble and stone all over the place?
Nope.
Why the fuck do you think he did that?
I don't know.
What are the advantages of that?
I don't know. It's like playing in a reverb chamber, I guess. It's pretty crazy. I don't know, but I love the way, and the little rooms to the side that are just 30 feet high and
super tall ceilings and marble everywhere.
I know. And then he has the super dry rooms for the vocals. I don't know. That studio was cool, and that fucking massive door. Is that door still there?
It's still there, but you're not really supposed to go in through the studio that way because now that's a bathroom.
What?
It's a bathroom with a fucking microwave in it. So on the wall, on the door, there are these shelves. You would never really know it was a door. It's almost like a trap secret door now. There's a bathroom.
Where do you go in then? Oh, the other side.
Wait till you see it. You're gonna fucking freak out. There's doors everywhere. There's stairs that go to like a door, but I'm afraid to open some doors because there might not be anything on the other side. It's fucking crazy. Did you come there when we did any of the Nirvana stuff there? I don't remember because we were there for like a weekend.
I don't think so.
Okay. So had you been there before we did stuff there?
Before Nirvana?
No, before the Foo Fighters. before I recorded?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe, I think so, but maybe not. Maybe not.
I mean, I only picked it because it was close to my fucking
Right,
house. You
right.
know? Studio X was the place.
Right.
Man, you know? But
God, maybe not.
what were some other studios in town? I mean, it was funny because I only remember a few studios in Seattle.
Yeah, there was like Music Source, which I never went to. There's London Bridge, which was, I think, exclusively Rick Parasher's place or whatever. But I hadn't really been in any of them. You know, I was still 8-track at my place. So I think the first 24-track studio I'd ever been in was that place in Baltimore that Jay Robbins now owns. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a pretty nice place. I did Thud. I recorded Thud there.
So, talk about the 6 days that we were there at Robert Lang's.
5 days.
Sorry.
Well, and it was like you wanted to set it up as how we had done all our demos, which is everything's ready to record. You just go to your drum set, play the drums, come in, play a bass, play a couple guitars, and then move on. And then save the last day for vocals. And we were, you know, we got on a pace of about a song an hour at one point. It's like once we got all the sounds going, you just went boom, boom, boom. Because you already had all the songs demoed out. You knew exactly what... This was always your greatest talent, that there was never any question of how something should be done. You knew exactly... You solidified your part right away. Like, my problem with recording is I'm always like, oh, maybe it could go this way, or maybe I should play it this way, or, you know. And it just makes you take forever and you can't make any decisions. So it was amazing how
Well, in a
quickly we
way,
were good.
that was out of necessity because the first time, like the first recordings that I had ever made by myself was, I almost felt like I was imposing by using your tape and your machines and stuff.
Well,
so I sort of figured, like, if I get this fucking done quick,
Right.
then, you know, he'll still get me high or whatever. You know?
You know, and I guess there's a little bit of truth to that. It's like, come on, if I'm gonna give, I'm doing a favor for you, right?
Now, sonically, how did you think that record sounded? How did that room sound?
Well, and I was very green inside of a 24-track studio, I think, at that point. I don't know. I mean, we ended up mixing it at the other place, and I didn't really have much to do with the mixing. I remember there is a rough mix that I did, and, like, you know, I just ran it, basically. And, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. It was maybe a little brash, like a lot of washiness in it. But I think it captured exactly what we were going for. I loved the guitar tones we got in there, and I still hear people say that that's their favorite sounding record of yours. So,
I mean, it's the great thing about it is it doesn't really sound like anything else.
yeah.
It doesn't.
I mean, for what we did in 5 days, it's fucking great. Whatever. The songs were great. You played it great. You know.
It's funny, I remember as we were mixing it, trying to get the room and the cymbals and stuff out of all of the other microphones. And it was just like, because that room is so reflective,
Right.
there was no way that you were going to get like the Rumors drum sound.
No,
You know,
you're not
it
going to
was
get
like-
the dry drum sound, no.
It was what
It was all about the big room sound. I'd be really interested to revisit those multi-tracks just to see what was there.
Explain double tracking vocals.
Well, and you would triple track.
I know. It's so
Well, double tracking or triple tracking is basically when you do a vocal track and then you sing again on a different track the exact same thing in the exact same way, and then you blend them together and it makes it sound a little thicker and it sort of smooths some rough edges. Some singers are great at it, and you're actually really good at it. And some singers can't do it at all because every time they change little inflections here and there or change their phrasing. Some singers don't need it at all because their voice is so interesting to listen to by itself that it kind of takes away from it. But your voice was always good doubled. I mean, fuck, the Beatles did it. They always
Did
double
you have a
tracked.
record that had a little song like doubling
Yes.
vocals makes things
I don't know
stronger?
where, it was on a bendable thing out of a magazine. Doubling the vocals makes us. Where was that?
I don't know.
I totally remember that.
That was in a church where everyone used to record. It's like Neil Young, Johnny Cash, and fucking everybody recorded there. So I'm gonna do that episode will be about that place and him and the new Nashville.
When are you recording when are you starting recording for the record?
January. First we have to do all this shit. Then we go to Chicago. And then at some point we have to go to New Orleans. It's busy, busy, busy.
Chicago, you're going to record at Albini's place?
We are.
Nice. With Albini?
We are.
Nice.
With him.
Is Butch going to be involved the whole time? Or is,
He is.
so Butch and Albini together?
No. It's just Steve's studio.
Right.
We just want the studios. We don't want...
Oh.
Yeah.
So
the idea is that we go to the studios and
Right.
we use them
All right.
to our advantage.
Are you going to inner ear?
Yes.
Really?
And it's funny that you mentioned that because I need to talk to you about that.
I've never been in that studio.
You've never been to Inner Ear?
No.
Did you ever met Don Z?
I've met Don Z once or twice. I never loved the records that came out of there, at least the early ones. I mean, it sounds good now, I think. But I mean, I think before he has the space that he has now, he was in his basement. So to me, all those early Discord records are just like, you know what I mean? Kind of papery and small sounding. But they're classics. You can't put them down.
What is it about every city seemed to have their one guy?
Right. Jack here.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Because the scenes were tight knit, and they would talk about who they wanted to go to. And I don't know. I don't think it's still like that though. Now everybody's got their own studio
Yeah.
in their computer. It's in the computer.
Have you worked with Jack before?
And Dino?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't worked together with him. I mean, I know him well. I mean, I've talked to him all the time, and we corresponded on the Nirvana stuff for the In Utero thing.
What kind of dude is Jack?
He's a good guy. He's funny. I like him. He's quite the character.
Is he like a scientific audiophile type?
Kind of, yeah. It seems like he's very meticulous when he's recording.
Which is funny considering all the bands he records sound like...
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny, I was never that kind of an engineer. I'm more the musician kind of guy who knows how to twiddle the knobs or whatever. And I was never into the specifics of getting this. I'll use whatever there is there and try to get the best sound I can get. You know,
Well, after we did the thing at Robert Lang's, and then you started doing lots of 24-track stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, and then I bought this one, the 24-track here. So, I mean, I was pretty much 24-track after that.
Did you stop the music and do more production, or like?
Probably when I got a year later when I got agent and started getting major label stuff, I pretty much started doing that more full time. It's kind of sad. But it was a good idea. I mean, I really should have. I think I'm maybe better at helping other people make their music sound good. I always wish I had a producer when I played my own stuff, because I'm not a good producer for myself.
Yeah, how do you produce yourself?
I don't know. Some people can do it. But I was too many choices. I needed somebody to say, no, that's good. Don't do that. That's good.
What do you think the difference in Seattle, what's the biggest difference in Seattle now than when you first moved here?
I I don't know. I don't really think in terms of that. I mean, things evolve, people evolve, places evolve. Yeah, there's probably more big buildings and there's more businesses here and Amazon's here or whatever, but I mean, there's still a lot of music here. There's a lot of beards. The beard rock is big.
Describe beard rock.
You know what beard rock is. Come on, they're everywhere. The Fleet Foxes and the My Morning Jackets.
Oh, right.
Have
you ever had a beard? I think I remember watching you shave once, and you were shaving like all the way up to your eyeballs.
It's true.
So if you had a beard, it would just be your whole face.
It would be all white now, but I had a beard once. It was only about this long, but it was red.
Wow, really?
I was a redhead.
You were a redhead, that's
right.
This is not what I want to waste all of my hard drive
I'm sorry.
on.
I'm sorry.
About Pearson's beard. One of the things that we're talking about in this series is each city and the regional music. Like, there has to be a reason that the music in New Orleans came from New Orleans, you know? And like, Nashville had country, New Orleans had jazz, Chicago had the blues. And I think there's specific reasons why all of those things happened. But Seattle, like, it seemed to have a specific aesthetic, you know? Why do you think that happened? Why do you think the music in Seattle happened in Seattle?
I don't know. I don't know if, I mean, to me it's because it's the weather and, I mean, I feel like I'm almost not a good person to talk to about it because I moved here in '91 when it was already going on, and I mean, I observed, but I don't know the deep roots of it. But I mean, people wear flannel because it was fucking cold, and the rock thing, I don't know. They had I think, you know, people see other bands play and they play off that. It's like, I kind of like that, what they're doing, so I'll kind of play the same thing. Or my brother lived here before I moved here. He like in the early '80s for like 6 months, and he brought back an album from fuck, now I'm gonna forget. The Wipeouts, is that right? No, that's not right. It's fucking
The Wipers?
No, not the Wipers. God damn it. Fuck, they were one of the big bands here. It's Bill Rieflin's first band. And I thought they were really cool. I don't know if you ever heard them. They had a great record that my brother brought back, and that was probably late 70s, early 80s, Seattle. And then I remember hearing, when I still lived in DC, hearing Soundgarden's first thing. I wanna fuck you. I'm thinking, wow, this is really lame. I actually didn't like Soundgarden until he started singing. And then they were cool. I remember when you know, when Nirvana gets big and everybody says grunge and they put Soundgarden, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, and Pearl Jam all in the same category. And it's like, these could not be more different bands, you know. Soundgarden's a riff rock band. Nirvana, punk pop. Although not in the Blink 182 punk pop realm. Pearl Jam, total classic rock, kind of jam classic rock band. Alice in Chains, butt rock. How do you put those all together in one category? I never understood that. Made no sense whatsoever. But damn press.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that, I mean, to me, you know, the funny thing about that time was that all of those things kind of blew up in the same 3 or 4 months of each other.
Right.
You know, like there was, I think maybe the Pearl Jam record came out first, and then the Nirvana record came out. Alice in Chains had a record out, and then the new Soundgarden record came out by like winter or something like that.
Right.
So within those 6 months, you had 4 huge records all coming from the same city. Like that doesn't.
I know that
where
doesn't.
else
How does
has
that
that happened?
I know.
So that's what's weird. Like why? I mean, I feel like it's more cultural than musical. That at some point the country that had decided Seattle was the most livable city in America in
Right.
the 80s finally saw something in the general aesthetic of the city. It was like, wow, they kind of have it. They have it good up there. It's almost like Portlandia.
Right.
You know, there's something when you mention Portland, people go, oh, yeah, Portland. I mean, because it sort of represents something specific.
Right.
And so I feel like that has something to do with why all of that music did what it did. I mean, I don't know either. Like, I moved here with you.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, that's the thing.
Sure.
We were kind of outsiders in the scene, and coming from DC, which was like all politics and punk rock.
Well, I mean, it's funny because that's a good example. Like in Washington, D.C., it seemed like that environment or that atmosphere or whatever it was, the music from that city, that city sort of designed the music.
Right.
In a
Because
way.
of the politics around. I mean, it's weird. The politics of DC was so invasive. Like everything you heard or thought about, I mean, everything was politics, and that's why there was such a great punk rock movement that riled against the politics. And here, nobody really thinks about politics that much. It's like it's not. You don't go down to the mall and see the Capitol and, as Jello Biafra said, the great Klansman in the sky. You were at that Rock Against Reagan.
I was
right?
at that
Yeah.
Rock Against Reagan.
Free Skeeter, wasn't it? Did he get arrested that night?
He did, actually. No, I mean, I think that the reason why Seattle isn't like that is because it isn't there.
Right, exactly.
know?
So what's
And-
here is rain and cold and dreariness, and so you go inside and you get drunk and you play loud rock and roll.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's got to be true, right?
I think it probably is. Okay, a couple more questions. Go-go. What do you know about go-go music?
Just that there's 3 bands, right? Chuck Brown and Soul Searchers, EU, and Trouble Funk. They were the big ones. And 2 of those bands played at my high school. And it's probably the most fun you'll ever have just watching a live show. And it never transferred well to recording. I mean, you never got the vibe. But the live show, same groove, nonstop for 2 hours. And it's the best dance music ever. You saw some of the stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what is it? Never got anywhere else besides DC, really. I mean, Doing the Butt was kind of big, I guess, and Money. Those are the big hits. You need some money?
Let's Get Small was a good one, too.
Let's Get Small. Rota Toms.
Yeah. Drop the Bomb. That was a
Drop
big
the
one.
Bomb. That's good shit, man.
See, I bought a
I
fucking
always
mixtape from Big Tony.
I always thought that there's Go-Go should have been way bigger, but I felt like it never got recorded right. It never transferred into the recording realm as good as it is live. You know what I mean? I don't know, maybe you just can't capture that. It's kind of like reggae, which is so much better live than recorded, I think.
I'm going to interview Pharrell Williams, and I'm going to try to get him to make a Trouble Funk record.
Are they still around?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
That would be great.
That would be killer.
Have him make a fucking hit record for Trouble Funk.
Yeah.
Shit.
That would be killer.
I know. Okay, let's move into the other room.
Okay.
I feel like you and I talk better together than separately.
Yeah.